Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of Podup with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm gonna go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Talk on. Oh, well, hi everybody. This is JC. I'm here in the kitchen, and I did not know I'd be flying this plane right now. I think we're going to have Seth Harp with us at some point. Shane Matthews is in Dallas. He is in the heat of his preparatory work for the XFL, and you know, I'm kind of flying blind here because I can't really see anything that they would be typically able to see in terms of any kind of response to what we're doing. I didn't know I was doing this on the fly here, but I've been put in this position at least for a few minutes, and we'll just go forward. I really can't see or have been told what to look at, so this is kind of somewhat embarrassing, although nobody told me that this would be the case. So I guess I'm just going to talk to myself and to you, or if anybody's out there listening. And the thing I would typically say if Seth or Shane were on is that during the week like this, basketball at this time of year takes primary focus. And when you have a league like the Southeastern Conference that you follow, you tend to make note of what's going on out there. And look, there, I now see myself. Here I am. This is the miracle of podcasting. So I'm going to just talk from my kitchen and hope you guys don't fall asleep. I wouldn't certainly blame you if you did at this point right now, because we have absolutely no preparation for this show. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I watched absolutely no basketball last night. I didn't watch any basketball. I sat on my butt and read. What I did see here this morning is that Georgia basketball, unlike its football brethren, is very mediocre. And the one common thing I've noticed is that Georgia basketball has a coach that used to lead the program here when it too was very mediocre. So we've kind of offloaded mediocrity to the University of Georgia as they lose to Ole Miss last night, a team that's 4 games under 500. I've also been told that my man Seth is going to be joining us here momentarily. But Georgia loses 78-74, and they've got Mike White. The other thing that happened last night in basketball that I think I took notice of was Arkansas beating Kentucky on the road in Lexington by 15 points. And this Arkansas team is a team that I have a feeling is about ready to turn it up and challenge Alabama for the lead of the SEC or for the class of this league. It's not Kentucky. It clearly is not Kentucky. It is Arkansas and it is Alabama. And tonight we get to watch Alabama play the Gators. The beloved Gators travel to Alabama after having played at Kentucky. Like I've said, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times. The schedule maker hates Florida. I mean, now, granted, we didn't know before when the season started that Kansas State was going to be as good as they are. And we also didn't know that maybe Alabama would even be as good as they are with all those young players that they have, specifically Brandon Miller, who is the freshman of the year in the league and maybe in the country. So that's a tall order to deal with scheduling-wise for the Florida Gators. They sit at 13-10 right now. They're 8.5-point underdogs. Colin Castleton is clearly the the leader of this team at this point in terms of scoring. He's the guy that keeps these games close with his production offensively. So, I would say that if you're expecting big things tonight from Florida on the road in a tough environment, 15,000 fans on hand in Tuscaloosa, you better hope that Colin Castleton maybe plays the game of his career. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I don't think Florida has the depth to match up in a game like this against a team that's 9-1 in their last 10 and beat Vanderbilt by 50 some odd points the other day, or was it 60? Regardless, it was 57. It was 101 to 44, and they did that on the same court that Florida's playing tonight. So my expectation level would be down, and that's just reality. And I'm sorry if it doesn't make anybody have the warm and fuzzies, but I'm just trying to keep it real here. Points per game averaging, Florida is 71.3. They're going to have to score at least 80 probably tonight, or hope that Alabama tanks it from the field. They are ninth in the country at 83.1 points per game. That is not the kind of matchup I think that bodes well for the Florida Gators. But I do expect the Gators to play hard. I think they'll give it the effort that we've been accustomed to seeing them give. They are very They're very, feisty. It's a team that won't just fold and die. And I do credit Todd Golden. Not that he needs my credit, but I think fans can realize that these guys at least play hard for this guy. Unlike maybe those guys up at Georgia with the former coach we had here that look like they're ready to just go ahead and tank the season. I mean, look at what they've done here in the last few games. So that's the comparison that I'm giving for Gator fans, because you had what you had last year. He's been offloaded to Georgia, and now I think you've got a team, because of his lack of recruiting, or whatever you want to call it, is struggling to get through a season with a new coach. And I think getting to the big dance is a tall order. I don't know, even if they did get to the big dance, where their seeding would be. Maybe Florida would be a 10, 11. I mean, maybe. And maybe they wouldn't even be that. If they don't get in, they have to play in. I don't really know. Chris Harry would be able to tell you a lot more. Kevin Brockway is certainly an expert on Gator basketball. I become an expert on things and with teams when they win, and they're interesting to me. And I don't just have blind loyalty. I've told Shane, when Alabama couldn't play basketball as a graduate, I didn't care. And if that makes me look bad, that's just because I got other things to talk about, or I'm interested in other things. And now, with the way they've ascended in the college basketball world, giving this coach a 7-year extension, I'm interested all of a sudden. They're going to build an arena for this guy up in Tuscaloosa. So basketball is a good thing going on up there, and Florida gets to go there tonight. Last night as well, we had Texas A&M beat Auburn. I think Auburn's been a disappointment this year as well. Bruce Pearl, they are 17-7. They are fourth in the SEC, but they're not the Auburn team that I think has Final Four potential. I also think South Carolina could be the worst team in the league. They lost to Missouri last night as well. And so simply, look, that's what happened in the league last night. It's a February week. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes my man, Seth Harp, straight out of the bedroom into the studio. He says LeBron knows. So he's going to have to explain that one to me, Seth. What does that mean?
He knows, baby. He knows. Good morning, Jason. Morning, good morning, good morning.
So Seth, what, did you get a good night's sleep last night? Get your 8 hours in? What's going on, bro?
I was working out.
We can't blame you for that.
Did you see? Look, you can't fake this, JC.
You look good, dude. You look fabulous.
Thanks. I was over there working out like, that's right. I tried myself. My apologies.
I was just kind of lecturing everybody on the mediocrity of the Georgia Bulldog basketball program, or the lack of mediocrity, and how, they got the coach that nobody wanted here, so they can deal with that. And then how Florida tonight's got a tall order traveling to Tuscaloosa after coming off a rough game not a rough game, but a loss at Kentucky, who, by the way, chose to lose by 15 last night to Arkansas. So watch out for the Razorbacks. I think they're about ready to go another volume. They're a good team.
They have the talent. They're a Sweet 16 team, aren't they?
Yeah.
They have the talent to do that. And the thing that, hot starts are great. Georgia got off to a hot start. There's teams throughout the country that got off to a hot start, but now you get into that grind. And regardless of the conference that you're in, with maybe the exception of the WCC that Gonzaga and St. Mary's are in, there are certain teams in this conference, and I heard you talking when I logged in, that are wins. Vandy's not very good. Ole Miss is not very good. But there's some good teams in this conference. And when's the last time that you could sit here? And I think we've seen multiple teams in the Final Four. The year South Carolina was it South Carolina got to the Final Four, and it wasn't South Carolina, Kentucky, was it South Carolina and Auburn? My brain's a fog right now. We've seen multiple SEC teams get to a Final Four. Now the question is that possible again? I mean, is Tennessee and Alabama? Could we have two SEC teams in the Final Four again? Compared to any other conference, I mean, the Big Ten's a one-trick pony, right? Maryland's okay, but it's going to be Purdue if it's anybody. The conference is good. Seth,
I would say maybe the Big 12 could slip a couple in there, or at least one. The Big 12 to me seems to be very talented across the board. I mean, when you've got Baylor as one of the teams in the middle of the road there, that's a good conference right there.
And overall, you look at what, and I think for the Florida Gators, it's a good thing Arkansas is good. Picking off low-hanging fruit isn't going to get you into the tournament. They need more wins like Tennessee, and tonight
they need that. Yeah,
this is what you need to win games like this if you want to make the NCAA tournament, especially if you've had some bad losses in there like the Gators have had. So I look at it this way: is tonight going to be a yeoman's test? Yes, if they're able to beat Alabama. And look, Colin Castleton has been a beast. We said this. You remember I talked earlier on the Monday podcast how he's like Jerry Seinfeld's girlfriend in that one episode where he's beautiful in one light and ugly in another, and sometimes ugly in another. He was beautiful last week. Absolutely beautiful.
I mean, for Florida to win, Seth, how many points? I mean, where do they got? They got to be in the upper 70s, don't you think?
Yeah, if they're going to win this game, it's going to have to be like 75, 72. If they're going to win, that's where they're going to have to get. They're going to have to catch some breaks. Some Alabama guys are going to have to get in some foul trouble. And, you mentioned this on Monday, and it's a great point. Colin Castleton can come out and score 30 points and 10 rebounds. They can still lose by 20.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, they've got to get help, man. He's got to get Lofton involved. He's got to get these players. These guys have got to they've got to shoot the three. They've got to open up the game and just run with these guys. I think that's how you win. I don't think you're going to win trying to play a half-court game. Alabama will take that and shut it down and basically with their defense and create offensive opportunities and easy baskets if you try to play that. I think this is going to be a tough one tonight because of just the matchup. But I could be wrong. I'm not a basketball expert. I'm not Chris Harry or Kevin Brockway who follow this night in and night out. But I just see numbers. I'm looking at stats. All right, I look at the numbers, and I think they matter on February the 9th or whatever today is. Because we've had 2 months now to see what we know. I mean, we've been able to watch, and they're going to have to catch Alabama on a cold night. I mean, this is a team that beat Vandy by 57 points the other night at home. So,
and where you are now, if you're in Alabama, you're playing for what? You're playing for an SEC crown and a 1 seed. So it's not like it's they don't really have anything to play for. Of course they do. Florida's playing.
That they don't want to lose this game at home to Florida. That would kill their top. I mean, right now they're in the top line, and maybe not the 1 overall seed, but they're a 1 somewhere. They're a 1 in some bracket, right? Some region, and that's where they want to stay. I mean, that gives you the easiest path, Seth, because you play the 16 in your first game, and then you play the winner of the 8-9 game in the second round to get to the Sweet 16. That's the easiest path. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get there. I think North Carolina last year as an 8 or 9 seed won that game against the top seeded team. I don't know. I can't quite remember who they beat, but North Carolina beat the 1 seed in that second round last year and got to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I think somebody once told me this. I can't remember if it's true or not. Isn't it true that the 1 seed is the only seed in the tournament that plays a single-digit seed automatically in the second round? If you're a 2, you could technically, you know what I mean? But anyway, I'm just dodging. But you're right.
I mean, that's a tough pull. That's a tough draw for an 8 or 9 to have to deal with the top seed in the region. And the odds are over time, in the history, that the 8-9 does not do well against the 1.
Well, when the 1 seed wins their first round matchup, 99% of the time?
Yeah.
Baltimore, Maryland, Baltimore County, or whatever that a couple years ago beat Virginia. And then I think in the second round, it's something like 81%. that the one seed advances to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing for conference titles if that matters to anybody, and seeding in the tournament. That's what the regular season is about. It's about seeding.
Well, and this is one of these things because it used to matter. And I don't think it matters anymore. But there was a time that we used to sit here and say, would it be more beneficial to make the NIT and win 3 or 4 games, getting home games, getting the fans around more?
Go to New York.
Go to New York, go to Madison Square Garden and win, be on national TV. It was one of those debates that I had when I was a wee young man, JC. But I'll throw it your way. How about this? It would be more beneficial for the Gator basketball program to go one and done in the NCAA tournament or go to New York in the NIT.
Oh, I think it would be to go to, well, one and done in the tournament is always a bad option. So I'd say go to the NIT and play in New York if they're fortunate enough to even get to New York. But you know, the idea is to get to the tournament. That's where coaches' bonuses are laid out in contracts and so forth. And to get to that tournament, you know, that's the thing, is you always got a chance if you're in the tournament. But the realities can be explosively exciting. Who was it? St. Peter's last year? So, I mean, these things can happen, but they're very rare. It's kind of like winning one of these dumb lottery things at night during the week. You know, I got 5 numbers or 4 numbers, and it's completely random, right? Well, they can play their way in and win something, but we're not going to see St. Peter's probably do it this year. It was a long shot thing, and it happens once a year to somebody. Yeah. So the only way that can happen is if you're in the tournament. But the odds are, and the reality is that if you can play 4 games, maybe 3 of those at home and 1 on the road, and then go to New York City for a Final Four, how's that not a good experience? As opposed to getting your tail kicked in Raleigh, North Carolina, in front of 8,000 fans at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. So
and Florida's going to have to grind to get past the play-in round. They're going to have to grind to get past.
They are.
Because right now we're talking about, well, they're in. Well, they're going to be one of the last 4 in. Even if they won tonight, they'd be on the bubble or one of the last 4 in. And, you know, that means Dayton, Ohio on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Since I was a little behind getting started today because I was busy pumping iron, let me get to a couple of these right now, all right? It's up the MRI text line, okay? It's simple. Just fire away. 352-353-7465. That's 352-353-7465. Titan MRI. There you go on that. And also, Facebook Live. You got a question for JC or myself? A Facebook Live question is brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators. So if you have any questions, you can fire away, and I'll try to read them as they come in and based on their relevancy. So there we go. But no, there's no moral victories, especially in the tournament. But I think I think how Florida plays tonight, I do think it matters. The fact that they came back against Kentucky and made that a game, I think it matters. If they can keep this competitive tonight and lose by 10 or fewer points, then I think that you build some momentum going into Vandy and Ole Miss. And
those are 2 winnable games there. Very winnable.
Magic number to me, they're 13-10 and 6-4. If they could somehow get to 18-13, which is 5-3, then if they win a game in the NCAA tournament, you put yourself in the discussion.
So you mean the SEC tournament? Yeah. Well, and maybe it might take 2 or 3 wins. I remember last year Texas A&M won something like 4 straight games in the SEC tournament. I watched them play. That was an NCAA tournament team, and they got shunned on Selection Sunday, and I thought that was awful because athletically speaking, that was a very good team last year, but their record was not as gaudy, and they played to the finals. They played 4 straight nights in the SEC tournament last year down in Tampa, and that was an NCAA tournament team, and they didn't get invited. So you can see how hard it can be for some teams like that. And I think that's Florida's situation right now. Unless we see lightning strike, they beat Alabama, they win the Vanderbilt game, they win the Arkansas game, they win the LSU game, and so forth. So, unless they hit a different speed, a different level, I've seen what I've seen. I know what this team is. I kind of think I know what this team is. You got some other games tonight, Seth. You've got Mississippi State, who's all of a sudden found a different gear. They've won a couple games in a row. They're dangerous defensively, and they're a 10-point favorite at home against LSU. So that's a big opportunity for Mississippi State to kind of keep the ball rolling, because that's a team that Florida's competing with in the league for, consideration for the big dance. And then Tennessee and Vanderbilt tonight up in Nashville. That will be a closer game than what maybe fans think, because it's in Vandy. It's a rivalry game. It's, it's this, it's that. And so those are the 3 conference games tonight that we're going to be keeping our eye on. And then, of course, we go into Saturday. So with Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and, when they lay out that tape, the tail of the tape like they do in boxing in the NCAA tournament, and, on Selection Sunday when they go, okay, quality wins, bad losses, top RPI top 50, when they lay all those things out, quad 1 wins, quad 2 wins, you have to ask yourself, what's more impressive, your wins or what's more detrimental, your losses?
Mm-hmm.
And with a win tonight, it's going to be a tall task. Good gracious.
I think so.
It'd be bigger than beating Tennessee, of course, because it's on the road and everything that lines into it.
It would mean more. It sure would. It would really. I mean, Florida's got one thing going for it. It's their RPI. I think it's their RPI, and I think it's their schedule. So yeah.
Yeah, and again, I don't want everybody get down if they go in there and the barn gets blown, doors get blown off, and you lose by 25. That's fine, because to me, you got to pick your low-hanging fruit. And we always keep looking ahead, and you should look ahead sometimes. I know coaches don't look ahead, but it's our job to look ahead, because that's how, okay, what do we have to do to get here? What do you have to do to get there?
Yeah.
One thing that, and I'm going to use a football reference here to talk about basketball, but when Jim Tressel was at Ohio State, I was living in Michigan and covering Michigan State at the time. And Michigan had owned Ohio State, won like 9 of 11 against them.
Yeah.
And Jim Tressel came in and basically said, hey, look, you're proud of our students off the field, on the field. You're going to be proud of our students in 300 and so days. It's like, whoa, what's this about?
That was
backed it up. So you point down the line. And you and I think, are in agreement. That Kentucky game is going to be a game at home that's going to determine whether or not this team makes the NCAA tournament.
Well, I would say yes, and I would also say though that they're going to have to win these games like Vanderbilt and LSU.
Oh, of course, yes, of course.
Have to win those for that to transpire, and then I think in Nashville you're going to have to win 1 or 2 at least. So we'll see. That they've got a tough assignment tonight, but I think a good showing will help. And if you lose a game by a point against a team like this, we're not into moral victories, but it will people will notice that. So that's important, Seth. So we'll see how that goes. But what else is this weekend, my man, is of course the Super Bowl in Phoenix and Glendale. And I was looking at some of the the line in that game is 1.5, and nobody's really taken a stand on that line, and everybody's gone to this new thing called prop betting. Have you ever, what I'm talking about when you say, will Patrick Mahomes throw for over or under 289 yards? Will the Chiefs score, will they kick 3 field goals or 4 or over under there? And I find that very interesting, even though here in the great state of Florida, the 3rd most populous state in the world, we can't do it. And I sent a tweet last night where 20% of Americans, Seth, 20%, that's 1 in 5, okay? 1 in 5 Americans will bet on the Super Bowl. And here we are in the 3rd most populous state in America, and that legally cannot happen.
It's a joke, isn't it? It's an absolute joke.
What world are we not? Why aren't we moving forward in this world? And so it has to go to a constitutional amendment. It has to be voted on, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, bankrupt states like Illinois and bankrupt states like Michigan just turn a switch on and they've got it. So it's frustrating. It's a source of frustration for me. You don't have to want to do it, but you should have the ability to try and do it if you want to bring interest into this game for you and your friends.
And this is where
that's my soapbox.
No. You're right. The last election, the spin on this is this, and this is where, when you have an uninformed electorate at times, you whip on things like this because tried to get gambling on the ballot for years and the ability to bet on sports for years. Seminole Tribe has puppet strings. They control politicians. Tallahassee, they control it. They do. They control it. They shut it down. Well, the thing that bothers me about this is you see ads like, well, if you legalize sports gambling in Florida, the money will be leaving the state. It won't. The gambling money will be leaving the state. And like, hey kids, it's leaving the state now. You're betting online. It's leaving the state now. And oh, by the way, have you ever enjoyed a delicious Chick-fil-A sandwich? That money's leaving the state. Their company headquarters aren't in Florida. Anytime you buy a product that's not made in Florida, your money is leaving the state. Whether it's fast food, whether it's what, no matter what, your car's not made in Florida. It's not. So I just think it's hilarious. This whole thing on, well, if you legalize sports gambling in the state of Florida, then the outside forces are going to come in, like yeah.
What I think that is, Seth, is that you've got people in the pari-mutuel industry who are threatened by something like this, knowing that discretionary dollars that are used for that type of activity will not be going to stupid horse racing and highlight frontons and poker tables. They're going to go to this, and that's a threat. And so somehow they convinced a federal judge to shut the Seminole Indian tribe down in Tampa. The Hard Rock app was open a year ago last November, and the federal judge shut it down because they want to bring in competition, perhaps, allow other companies, BetMGM, Caesars, FanDuel, DraftKings, to come in and do this as well, and nobody's figured out how to make that framework possible. And meanwhile, you've got these pari-mutuel industry guys down in South Florida who come from the Northeast and now have set up shop in South Florida, threatened by sports wagering because their businesses are failing. So you go down to Tampa and that dog track is, I don't know if it's open or not, but it's a poker room now, and that's not what it was built for. So you don't need 100,000 square feet to build a poker room. You build a dog track or 500,000 square. But the point is that I think this state has got to get it together, because billions with a B is being left on the table to places like Indiana and Illinois and Mississippi, and so Louisiana. They're going to have Lake Charles, Louisiana is a town. I don't know why I got off this topic, but we are talking about the Super Bowl.
It's gambling. It's a billion-dollar industry.
Right. So Lake Charles, Louisiana, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana, every single hotel room is sold out for March Madness, and it's not because people want to go to Lake Charles in the third week of March to look at the trees and enjoy the weather. It's because of March Madness. The economic opportunities are being left. And they say, well, JC, what does Florida care? We've got tourism, we've got Disney, and all this other crap. Well, you're leaving money on the table, regardless of what you have. And so if Lake Charles, Louisiana has sold out their hotels for the first round and second round of March Madness, what the hell are we doing in this state? So I think I've got confidence that the governor is going to reinitiate this, and the administration's Department of the Interior agrees with DeSantis.
Yeah.
And so we've got to get it through the voters, I guess. And that's just frustrating. You never know when that's going to happen.
Yeah. And again, it's one of these things, too, where certain things have been passed. But you're right. It gets to Tallahassee, and then it's like, well, how do we? Well, we're going to manipulate this. And it's one of those things that, lobbyists get involved, and it gets stopped dead in its tracks. Just know this, that, New York, it's $1 billion piece of the pie, New York State.
Yeah.
California,
Jersey.
Yeah, $1 billion piece of the pie. And you talk about the size in the state of Florida, the fact that sports gambling, I would love to see. It will never happen, but I would love to see Scott Strickland set up a gambling entity, a place you can bet inside Ben Hill Griffin Stadium when they remodel this thing, or they build a new football stadium. JC, what are we hearing? If they build that new football stadium, that's maybe a story for a different day. But as you look at things, I would love a concourse where you can bet on the game. You can place prop bets on whatever you're watching, like, okay, over and under catches in the first quarter for Gator receivers. I would love to see it. Love to see it. Chris writes, Florida had a lot more problems than legalized sports betting. Everybody, well, guess how you solve those problems? With money, sometimes.
And employment. New Jersey took this issue to the Supreme Court, I think, to be able to do what the state of Nevada is able to do. At one point, the state of Nevada was the only state in the country that was able to do this. New Jersey at least had the foresight, which is very rare for the state of New Jersey, but they had the foresight to think how we can create revenue for our broke-ass state. And it's working. And yeah, Florida may have more problems than whether or not we can do sports gambling, But that's not the point. The point is make it available on your cell phone legally to do mobily for those who want to do it. And for those who don't, who the hell cares? I'm not talking about opening up the Stardust, the Frontier, the Riviera, the Dunes, the MGM Grand, the freaking Aladdin down 13th Street. I'm not talking about that, even though it'd probably do games with wonders to have some real money flowing through this place. But I'm simply saying allow folks the freedom to do what they can do in 23 or 4 other states in this country, and soon will be over 30. And for the third most populous state to not be able to do something that 1 in 5 Americans are going to do on Sunday is absurd to me. And it's not 2023 thinking, it's 1963 thinking. And look, you don't have to agree with it, but you should be able to say, if you do want to do it, it's there. Your location settings should be able to work, and you should be able to go to BetMGM or Caesars or FanDuel or DraftKings. And if you want to put $10 on whether or not Patrick Mahomes throws for 287 yards or not, you should be able to do it. Doesn't mean you have to.
Well, the same people that say, oh, it can develop an addiction, so can cough syrup.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm addicted to this. This is an addiction right here.
Yes.
You know, how do we know in 10 years we're not going to find out that these things blow your brains out with radiation poisoning? Yeah. I don't know. That when they were smoking cigarettes in the 30s and 40s, did they know they were killing themselves? Yeah. Even though it should be common sense that when you send smoke down your trachea, you're going to kill yourself. But they didn't, and they kept doing it. So what's the difference? I'm addicted to this. I'm addicted to this. Give me a break with that addiction crap. That's the laziest excuse I've heard in my whole life about they can get addicted. Show some self-respect and some control. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. It's as simple as that. When you run out, guess what solves this problem? You run out of money, all of a sudden you can't do it anymore. So there you go.
I saw this, and it's absolutely hilarious because it's true. If you legalize sports gambling in the state of Florida, you can get rid of all the toll roads.
Oh, well, gee, then I could get rid of that ridiculous thing on my windshield that takes money out of my bank account for driving under yeah. I mean, there's so many things you could do. It's all about revenue creation, and that's the world we live in today, folks. And we need it because of the amount of money we spend that we don't have in this country, by the way.
All right, you gotta take a time out here really quick. Thank you. I was at Chris for that Facebook Live question brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And Kyle Crooks waiting in the wings. We're getting ready to.
Okay.
This is going to be good stuff. But enjoy the game tonight. I say Alabama by 11.
All right, I got you, and we'll see you on Friday, Seth.
Kyle Crooks coming up next here on Podup with Matthews in the morning.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Calling Gator Nation. You're invited to be part of Gator history on Friday, February 10th for the official dedication of Steve Spurrier Way at Celebration Point Promenade in front of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Lots of dignitaries and press will be on hand to witness this historic event. And it's open to all who bleed orange and blue. It's the grand unveiling of Steve Spurrier Way. It's all happening Friday, February 10th from 5:30 to 6:15 at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point.
Seth Harp on Sports, Kyle Crooks, the golden voice of Gators women's basketball, Gators women's soccer, Gators softball. Insert any sport, he can do it. This is Podup with Matthews in the morning, coming to you from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care, and also reminding you, Gator fans, come honor Gator legend Steve Spurrier. Celebration Point Steve Spurrier Way, officially going to be unveiled February 10th. That's 2 days from now. It's Friday, isn't it? Yeah, 5:30 p.m. Promenade in front of Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Go Gators. I know that they're going to name an alley after me over on 36th Street coming up here when my illustrious career is winding down. But nonetheless, Kyle Crooks, and I hand the baton over to him as he leads this next half hour. Kyle Crooks.
Seth, it's good to see you, my friend. I know we did a show a week ago or maybe a couple weeks ago after the NFC and AFC championship games. I know you're revved up because your Chiefs are getting set to play in the Super Bowl on Sunday, and I don't know how much sports-wise you have a whole lot to look forward to. I don't know what your other teams are. I know that you're a Chiefs fan and you've been here in Gainesville in the last couple of years, but here we go. Just how excited are you, Seth, right now? What we said a couple of weeks ago after the championship games, this was the best matchup, we think, out of the four teams. Right now, the line sits Eagles favored by 1.5, so it's essentially almost a pick 'em going into the Super Bowl. How fired up, how confident are you heading into Sunday?
Right after the game, I said the Eagles are going to beat them after the conference championship games because Patrick Mahomes' ankle, all the Nicole Hardman, all the injuries that the Chiefs have accumulated. Let's face it, the Chiefs had their number 2, number 4, number 5 receiver on the field at the end of the game. You start to see some numbers, and I start to wonder how wrong I was of jumping the gun. I didn't know this, and I saw this stat. Patrick Mahomes has played the number 1 defense in the NFL 8 times in his career. You know what his record is? 7-1.
7-1.
And he's playing the number 1 defense this weekend. So for what that's worth, all right, now this is a different stage. It's a bigger stage. We saw a couple years ago in the Super Bowl when he had an offensive line that was kind of dinged up, what he wasn't able to do. But we have Eagles fans that are students that I talk to, and I ask them this: when's the last time you beat a good quarterback? When's the last good quarterback you built that you beat Eagles fans? Well, Trevor Lawrence, week 6 or week 12, whatever. I mean, so it's been a long time. I think that right now, if I were a betting man, which I am, I would say the Chiefs win the game by 4 points. I think it's like a 28-24, 24-20 type of game, but I think it's going to be good. I do. And, 2 years ago, we had a dud. The Chiefs, and I thought the 49ers was a very good game. Not a great game, but a very good game. Last year was kind of And the Bengals and the Rams, it wasn't the most pretty thing in the world. Of course, you keep going back over time, and the Patriots-Rams game was a dud. The Patriots-Falcons game was a dud until the final 20 minutes. So I think this one gives us a shot to be a good game. I don't see the Eagles blowing out the Chiefs. The Eagles aren't going to beat the Chiefs by more than 10 points. It could happen on the other side of the ledger, but Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's coming back for the Chiefs. What does that mean? It's just another guy that they can hand the ball off to. If the Chiefs can rush the ball for 80 yards or more, they'll win the game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Eagles up front right now. That's probably one of the best units in this game. If you parse out all the position groups up front defensively, that's probably, besides obviously Mahomes and Kelsey on the other side. But you look at Fletcher Cox, you got Hassan Reddick. I mean, that group up front is tough. You have 2 offensive lines that are elite in this game, 2 defenses that are very good. Eagles probably better defensively. The big question right now, the health of Patrick Mahomes, and that was a big question going into the championship game. How healthy is that ankle? And he answered a lot of questions in the positive on his end. He tweaked it a little bit towards in the second half of that game, but he's had now 2 weeks to get healthy. And I think he's going to be healthy enough but now you factor in the best pass rush against maybe a not 100% mobile Patrick Mahomes. If you had to guess percentage wise, how mobile is Patrick Mahomes in this game? Is he 50%, 60%? I don't know, but that's a big wrinkle in this game. Can he get outside the pocket and make plays?
And let's face it, even though he played banged up, it'll have been 3 weeks since the injury, right? So I mean, that's everything, isn't it? Now that's why they have to run the ball. That's why they have to run the ball. And I also look at it like this. You've got Nick Sirianni against Andy Reid. Let's face it, Andy Reid kind of out-schemed Kyle Shanahan in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl a couple years ago. He got him. You go back to the Super Bowl in Jacksonville. Andy Reid did a nice job against the Patriots and Bill Belichick. The problem was Donovan McNabb didn't play very well. And he didn't spread the ball out. T.O. played. Remember, T.O. was coming off a big injury that game, too. And he had a monster Super Bowl. Didn't have like 7 catches for 105 yards. It was just one of those games where, Patriots defense kind of suffocated the Eagles and took away some things. So you wonder, I agree with you. The front four of Philadelphia, if they can get pressure without blitzing, then the question is, what does Patrick Mahomes do with that pressure? He's better than anybody in my life of buying an extra 2-3 seconds than anybody we've ever seen. He just is. He's better at it than anybody we've ever seen. But you saw in the AFC Championship game, he couldn't buy an extra 2 or 3 seconds until the end of the game. And if he's 100% healthy, he turns down the sidelines on that and maybe doesn't need the 15-yard penalty. This is, to me, there's so many elements that come to this. But if Patrick Mahomes, let's say, is 70%, he can win a Super Bowl against the number 1 defense in the NFL with a 70% Patrick Mahomes, then you start to look at things, Kyle, like this was the Chiefs' rebuilding year. They have 6 rookie starters or 6 rookies that were playing in the fourth quarter of that Bengals game. Then you start to look around, and majority of their stars, with the exception of Travis Kelce, are under the age of 30. Then you start to bring in the D word, don't you? Don't we start talking dynasty? Don't with a win this weekend? So that there's so many different layers there, but I think it's going to be an enjoyable schematic game, because what do we always say? And what does everybody say? Defense wins championships. We's about to find out.
Mm-hmm. And you're right. I mean, this is a legacy game. It's a cliche phrase, right?
For Reid, without a doubt. Yeah, with both of them.
Yeah, Reid, Mahomes. If Mahomes gets 2 is a separator, and he's very early on. He's not even 30 years old yet. How old is Patrick Mahomes? 27. 27 right now. You have a second championship before 30. Not many quarterbacks can say that. I'll ask you this. I mean, this Chiefs team, it's not very long. If they win this, everybody's going to hate it. It's going to be like the Patriots. It's like in the Warriors, they were the new hot thing on the block. And then once you win a couple championships, everybody hates you. They say, oh, we got to see this again. Although we all love watching greatness, so we wouldn't complain, but we would complain. Do you think that Mahomes can possibly get, if he wins this one, can he get to Brady's 7? That's the big question. I mean, there's so many variables that go into being able to win a Super Bowl, let alone 5 more after this one. Do you think he could eventually? I think eventually his skill set and what he's done, he's changed the game. He's like Steph Curry in the NBA. Now everybody shoots 35-footers because it's fashionable. The way Mahomes plays the game, it's going to influence the next generation of quarterbacks coming up. There's no doubt about it. Do you think he can eventually get to that point and become in that class of one of the greatest of all time?
No, not 7.
No,
I think that's,
I don't think so.
But here's the thing: 5. Yeah. I think you get past Montana. I think you get past Bradshaw, because you start to look at that layering, and Brady 7, right? Bradshaw 4, Montana 4, Aikman 3. I don't think anybody else has 3, do they? Roethlisberger has 2, Manning has 2, Eli, and so does Peyton.
Yeah, Peyton has 3.
I know that Joe Gibbs has 3 as a coach, but we were talking about players. So I think with the win here, then he's 27. He'll have 2. But the thing that he's got going against him is the AFC's loaded with quarterbacks.
Yeah, I was going to mention that it would be harder to get through your conference, let alone a Super
If Aaron
Bowl.
Rodgers ends up with the Raiders, you can have Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and the best passer I have even mentioned yet. Justin Herbert's the best pure thrower in that division.
Mhm.
So people forget that team was pretty good this year. If you take the 2 losses against the Chiefs, who they have to play every year. So I for his legacy, and you're right, this team's about ready to, if they win, they're going to turn into the Warriors. They're going to turn into that team that, all of a sudden wins all these games and wins a couple championships. I remember when the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. It was right after 9/11. U2 was playing at halftime. It was like, yeah, America's team. Within 3 years, they were like, this sucks. I'm tired of these guys the same all the time, which I don't know any dynasty that anybody loves other than that particular fan base.
Mhm.
But dynasties are great for sports. They are. Hold on here. I got a couple things. Is this Meldon Law Facebook Live? Where's Shane Lamar? Shane is busy with camp. He's busy with coaching. He's mentoring the next generation of he's getting ready for the XFL season. So Kyle Crooks, myself, Seth Harp in here today. So there you go. Jimmy Johnson has 3, if you count the one Switzer one with Jimmy.
Yeah, he's handed to Switzer.
Yeah, Butch Davis has a national championship at Miami too, if you do that. So yeah. So there we go. But no, Kyle, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm a Pacers fan, grew up in Indiana, so there's not much happiness there. The Red Sox, it was like your sports fans are sprawled out all across the country. Seth, yeah, when I was a kid, the Colts were in Indianapolis. They were in Baltimore. Pacers, the Pacers are the only team. So it's like, okay, everybody loved the Bulls. I'm like, I'm not jumping on that. No way, Jose. And being from there, that clash with Chicago all the time. I was a Red Sox fan. We didn't have professional baseball in Indy. And, growing up and watching them get their heart broken against the Mets and everything that went into that. Plus, the lady that babysat me when I was a kid, family was from Worcester. So they had that thick New England accent. So I'm spread out all across the country, man. And everybody, you're just a bandwagon guy. Anything that you want to know that happened before they won titles, come find me. Because I was a miserable cat until 2003. All the way up through 22, my sports team didn't do anything. So there we go. You want to know who my teams were? There you go. And I went to Western Michigan University, and they went to the Cotton Bowl a couple of years ago. But other than that, that's about it.
That's right. We want to knock out some of these reads right now, Seth. I know you got them. Some of our advertisers
flying here, and I know you want to look at some other things too. Let's do this here really quick. Podup with Matthews in the Morning is a service of Chris Doring Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping homebuyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. That's 352-244, 0840. And also Peachland Dentistry. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachtreedental.com and join us on Friday for Peachland Dentistry, JC and the QB weekend picks. I need to go to the dentist, by the way. Can't start my last appointment.
Same here.
People blowing me up here early.
If I told you the last time, Seth, I went to like an actual dentist appointment, you'd look at me and you'd be like, dude, you have some problems. I brush my teeth every night, all that stuff. I just don't like the dentist. Same thing with the doctor. I don't go to the doctor as much as I should.
Yeah. So I need to go tighten MRI. My shoulder's killing me. It's all this muscle structure. LeBron knows, Kyle. He broke.
Well, you know what? I stayed up last night, Seth, to be able to witness history, I guess.
Yes.
And LeBron breaks the record with 10 seconds to go in the third quarter. And I think the most hilarious part about the celebration was that there were still 10 seconds left in the third quarter, and they still had to finish the rest of the quarter. But what a celebration last night for those that don't know, and I don't know if you've talked about it already. LeBron becomes the all-time scoring leader in the NBA. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in attendance. And we talk about greatest of all time with Mahomes, this, that, or the other. And I don't necessarily want to get into the LeBron-Jordan debate because I think everybody's done that ad nauseum to this point. But we mentioned transcendent type players. The way LeBron is built, the way he plays, it's something necessarily we haven't seen a whole lot ever. They like to compare him to Jordan, but I think that the better comparison is him to Magic. Magic was there last night. The way he facilitates I don't know how many career assists he has, but he's not like Kobe and Jordan were a better comparison, because Kobe, he emulated Jordan almost to every single move that Jordan did. But LeBron, if you look at, I would say you easily put him in the top 5 all time. Where do you have Jordan? Where do you have LeBron all time?
He's the most complete basketball player ever.
Sure.
And this is, he's the greatest. And you get into semantics, but nobody, the 5 tools, could do 5 better than LeBron. And this happened a couple of years ago when they beat the Warriors. LeBron James made 5 plays in the final 2 minutes that no other player in the history of basketball could make. He went down and blocked the big shot, came out, threw the double team, laid the assist down. Kyrie hits the big 3. He goes back down at the other end, gets a steal. It's like he did everything that you need a player to do in the final few minutes. LeBron's not blocking Draymond, or Jordan wouldn't be blocking Draymond's shot. And Pippen would be in the lane doing that. So I look at it like that. He's the most complete basketball player ever. You can argue GOAT, semantics, all those things. Here's, I think, the thing that gets lost with LeBron. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, 17 years old. Title said The Chosen One. Kyle, and he lived up to it.
Yeah, and it very rarely
lived up to it.
That.
17 years old, got put on the cover of Sports Illustrated, was told he was the chosen one. And it's like, well, he's King James. Oh, he's not the king. He didn't give himself that nickname. Okay, this guy has never done anything wrong, right? He's never been in trouble with the police. Never had his wife beat him with a golf club, right? He's never been in any trouble. There's no reports of fraud or anything with him. So and this is my generation's fault, Kyle. Your generation, no, my generation's fault that we were so offended that somebody could even come close to Jordan. So we tried to pick this guy apart in his career every step of the way. Like, well, Jordan had killer instinct. Jordan, oh, stop, Alan Cochran, except cry and pitch a fit, whatever. You go back and watch any Jordan game. That dude complained more than anybody in the league. Reggie Miller talked about it. Jordan whined about every single thing, every single call that didn't go his way. There's audio of this, and watch old NBA, this whole thing. Jordan never complained. Jordan won a championship all by himself. Yeah, except the 2 Hall of Famers that were with him, and Rodman and Pippen for the second go around. That's ridiculous. Anyway, he's the most complete basketball player ever. What's funny about this with Jordan, and I'll let you get a thought in on this, or LeBron on this, is he breaks the all-time record. He did it in fewer games than Kareem, right? LeBron's not 40. Kareem was 42. Now you can go, well, he went to college, didn't go to college. Fair enough, but he did it in fewer games. Jordan got to his number in fewer games than, but I see this last night. Like, well, you look how many games it took him. We didn't do that with Hank Aaron, did we? We didn't do that with Hank Aaron when he broke Babe Ruth's record. We're like, well, he did it more games than Ruth. Didn't do that. Didn't do it with Pete Rose when he broke Ty Cobb's record. All these guys that set these longevity marks in baseball and other sports are like, oh, Pete Rose is the hit king. But with LeBron, it's like, well, he's the all-time player. Yeah, but he did it in fewer games. We always hang these asterisks next to him. It's a shame because we have an entire generation, my generation, that wasted enjoying this man's career because we wanted to compare him to the hero that we bought his shoes when we were in the 4th grade. So it's sad. I've enjoyed watching him play. You can appreciate greatness here and love this. Look, Kyle, you can love blondes and brunettes. You can drink Coke and drink Pepsi. It's okay. You can do those things. And that's where I am with LeBron and Jordan. That's where I am.
Well, Seth, I look at it this way too, is like, we don't necessarily do the same thing with a lot of the big stars in other sports. Like Mahomes, we say, can he get to Brady, or can he be the greatest of all time, with not necessarily tearing him down? LeBron, I feel like every I don't know if it was the Boys and Girls Club thing where he said, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, where was the seminal moment for him where everybody just started hating him, although he gave money to charity during that time, and that interview with Jim Gray. But every other athlete, I feel like we don't tear down nearly as much as we tear down LeBron. And there's all these narratives out there about him, about he's not clutch and he's not this and he's not that. I think it was a clip yesterday. JJ Redick went through all of the narratives about LeBron, and he gave objective numbers to say this is wrong. When people say he's not clutch, he has like the most clutch field goals in NBA history or something like that. People can go find it on Twitter. But there's all these narratives that have been created, and it's the Skip Bayless way of thinking, right? It's like it's the way of a pundit to make money. Let's tear down greatness, this, that, and the other. Sure, but he's objectively, like you said, he's never been in trouble. But all the numbers, he's lived up to every single facet of. I remember the first game he played, Seth, was at Sacramento. That first game he ever played, and he had a breakaway dunk, and he was incredible. He lived up to the hype in game one. This is a guy who had Dick Vitale doing his high school games on ESPN. And we've seen a ton of guys who have not been able to live up to that type of hype, but he has. And he's done it at such a high level. That second, or that Cleveland championship that he brought when he came back for the second time against that Warriors team, that's one of the greatest achievements in sports. We had that chase down block in 2016. Like that's one of the craziest championships ever. Yeah. I just don't understand why we continue to bring this guy down.
Jordan had Gatorade. LeBron has Haterade. And read one more comment. Jordan played almost his entire career with one team. No, he played for the Wizards. No, he didn't. Almost. Okay, whatever that means. Then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is an abject failure because he went from Milwaukee to the Lakers, right? You can go through and all sorts. Pete Rose played for 3 different teams in his career, all-time hit leader. You can go through and find guys that did. Babe Ruth played for 3 different teams. This whole thing, played for one team your whole career. Yeah, greatness is greatness. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what team you play for. The superstars on them so you could win championships. Oh, come on. When Michael did all this stuff, there was no salary cap. It was a different world. Again, I can appreciate Jordan's greatness, but to knock on LeBron, just for the sake of knocking on him, because you have an inferiority complex about getting old and your guy was better than the younger guy. Again, I've never understood that.
Who knows, Seth? Maybe we'll do that with LeBron. Maybe we'll do that with John Morant down the line and be like, oh, this whoever the new guy is will be like, well, he wasn't John Morant or he wasn't LeBron James. So I feel like every generation, it's the same thing what we do with music. It's like, oh, you listen to the older generation says, oh, you listen to this crap. And then we'll probably say the same thing 20 years from now about the next generation. I'll tell you, when you see a player change as many teams and that being a knock, I think the only time that's a knock is if you're Kyrie Irving, because it's the way you've left.
Forcing trades, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. And look, the thing about Jordan, nobody ever brings this up, he's a quitter. He quit. He quit in the summer, right before the season started, to go play baseball. He quit on his franchise. After the draft, after they had a chance, they could have rebuilt, they could have signed free agents. He quit on them. LeBron never quit on his team. Quitter. Mm-hmm. Jordan was a quitter. He was. Well, his father died and he wanted to honor his father's legacy. Nice try. He was a quitter. He quit to play baseball. Now you can talk about the gambling debts, all those conspiracy theories. Those people are whack jobs. LeBron wasn't a quitter. Michael was. Facts.
Yeah. Well, Seth, we got to wrap it up. Are there any more ads that we have to get to right now?
Yeah, I got to fire a couple more off here. Looking back on this, thanks JC and Kyle here on Podup with Matthews in the morning. Quick reminder, are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, realtor with Coldwell Banker, MM Parrish, will provide you with fast, friendly, and reliable service. Call her today, 352-562-1411, to help your dreams of owning a new home or selling your home come true. And also, pretty much got everything else. Comfort Temp, baby. Today in sports history. LeBron, I guess we'll go back to this night. LeBron breaks the all-time scoring record. So there you go. Oh, you forgot LeBron walking off the court in a loss. Oh, Alan, he walked off the court after he got beat. I hate him now. How dare you walk off? Kyle, that's it. This podcast is over. LeBron walked off the court when he got beat. I know he can't be the greatest of all time. Jordan would never, ever do that, ever. All right, that's enough.
No. What an electric way to end this podcast. I'm sure the comments will go over well over that. Well, Seth, appreciate it, man. Good job. I think you're hosting again this week. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm still working on the guests for tomorrow. So we'll see everybody tomorrow. Big thanks to everybody watching. And enjoy the day. Enjoy Gator basketball tonight. See everybody.